Wow, I don't remember the last time we saw a race dominated like that. Oh wait, MTJ did it like a year or two ago, didn't he? Well, yeah. So we had a guy absolutely dominate a cup race here today, and we got a lot to talk about here on this episode of Running with the Pack, including the Darlington race. So let's get right into it here on this episode of Running with the Pack. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so for a race dominated so heavily, and I know a few years ago we were saying we would start to say like, oh, I don't remember the last time a race was dominated that badly. But now it's like, okay, MTJ's been doing it for years, and now he's finally. It feels like he's finally gotten off the off kind of the slump he had without his crew chief there, Cole Pern, because for a while he was struggling to produce results anywhere at any team really. Now some of those were not necessarily top teams or top of their game teams when he drove for them. DEI on their downswing, Michael Waltrip racing through Spingate, and then obviously 2014 Furniture Row, not necessarily a star-studded team. But then as soon as Cole Pern came in, he was a perennial championship contender. And last year he only managed, I think, like 1 or 2 wins with James Small, which is no slight on James Small, but he's no Cole Pern, which is, I think, a fair deal. But it looks like they are finally starting to get their momentum as Truex picks up his 3rd win of the season. First driver to go for 2 wins this season, and now he's the first driver to get 3. No other driver's gone back to back. We've got 11 winners now in 12 race, or in we've got what is it 10? Yeah, it's 10 different winners in 12 races. So 2 repeats, which was MTJ at Martinsville and MTJ at Darlington today. But yeah, he put on a monster of a performance. And then right behind him was the Kyle and Kyle show. And I say right behind him, about 2 seconds back was the Kyle and Kyle show. And a lot of this was just brought on by the fact that we had such a long run at a very technical track. Because I've seen some people on Twitter or YouTube saying that this race was unentertaining. And to an extent, yeah, sure. A margin of victory of... What was the margin of victory? I got it written down here. Margin of victory of 2.5 seconds. Sure, that's not a barn burner photo finish type thing. But you're not going to get that every week. Sometimes you'll have a race where a guy leads 248 laps out of 293 and wins by 2.5 seconds. Doesn't necessarily mean it was unentertaining throughout it. I mean, the pressure of not knowing if there was going to be a speeding penalty there on the final set of green flag pit stops, whether a yellow was going to come out. I mean, especially when Bowman had that absolute tire smoke late in this race. I thought there was for sure going to be a caution, but to Bowman's credit, he kept it under control, got back to pit road, got that tire changed, finished 17th. But yeah, I mean, and again, you had the Kyle and Kyle show. You had Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson going back and forth for at least a little bit. They ended up finishing a fair bit apart as, they ended up finishing almost 3 seconds apart on the final grid, but that's because Larson did such a good job running down Truex in the lap traffic. But then there just wasn't quite enough lap traffic to get around. Just a part of Darlington being such a technical track, it's going to be hard to make a pass. I mean, this is not a Kansas, this is not a Chicagoland where you can go down 4 lanes on the track and try and pull a slider up in front of the other driver. It's not one of those tracks where you can go up 3 lanes to the absolute wall and go right around. There's about 2.5 lanes of traffic, and especially if you're in and around lap cars, there's probably only 1 lane for you to go to that is actually going to move you past the lap cars. So it's just a part of what Darlington is. And Darlington, to its credit, I like that. I like this style of racing, especially every once in a while if it's not every single race. Because, of course, any type of racing, if it's every single race, would get boring and repetitive. Road course racing, like over in most other sports, would get boring and repetitive if you do it too much and if it's too much of the same stuff every single time. But just looking at this finish order, though, we had MTJ first, second place. We had second and third. We had the Kyle and Kyle show of Larson and Busch. And then we had three guys who I kind of expected were going to be some of the strong runners throughout this race, which was Byron, Hamlin, and Harvick. Of course, Hamlin and Harvick split the three races last year. 2 wins to Harvick, 1 win to Hamlin. Byron, he's been strong there ever since he debuted at Hendrick Motorsports back in 2018. Then you had Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, 2 of the younger guns. And then your top 10 rounded out by the Roush Fenway Fords, which is really cool to see. The Roush Fenway Fords having some speed and both getting top 10s. And speaking of good to see, Chase Briscoe up into 11th place. That team's starting to look like they're turning around. But as you guys might see when we go through a few more names, that's not necessarily the trend throughout the entire team. Reddick got 12th, Logano 13th, Christopher Bell and Chastain were 14th and 15th. And so you had some other guys, as I said, Bowman finished 17th. Austin Dillon was one I was expecting would do better, finished 16th. Eric Jones 18th in his first start at Darlington in the Richard Petty number 43. He had a tire issue while running about 14th or 15th. So his finish not indicative of how his day went, and certainly hurt my fantasy lineup. But Corey LaJoie, 22nd. Daniel Suarez, funny enough, 23rd is starting to sound like a downslide from where he has been running, even though that's not a bad finishing spot at all. Then you had Brad Keselowski, who absolutely had no speed today. It was just constantly trying to pick up the pace after just an awful start to this race, where I think he led like 5-6 laps before he lost the lead to Kyle Busch, and then just never saw the front of the field. Got lapped at like lap 30 and never saw the lead lap again. And then you had 3 DNFs from the race, 2 of which being the other 2 Stewart Haas cars, who had virtually identical wrecks coming down the back straightaway and into the inside walls. It was just crazy to see the similarity in their wrecks for Eric Almirola and Cole Custer. And honestly, that's my reason for saying that I don't think this can really count as a resurgent day for SHR. Now, Chase Briscoe, not to take anything from him, he ran a fantastic race, got a great finish from it at a very tough track, especially for a rookie with very little to no practice. And of course, we know how good he was here, because in the Xfinity race last spring, the return race for the Xfinity Series, he was involved in that beating and banging finish with Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series, and came out on top that day. So, just another kind of gut punch for Eric Almirola, and to a lesser extent, Chase Briscoe. And, they actually have the points updated, so I don't know if they finalized the results or not, but, so Buescher's up there in the 13th place on points. McDowell drops to 15th, but obviously with his win, it's not an overly big deal. It's just a question mark of what ends up happening if they start to get more than 16 winners. Reddick's currently tied for the playoff cut line, so I'll probably do a bigger playoff bubble analysis video at some point here in the not too distant future. Just wanted to see where some of the teams are standing after this most recent race. LaJoie still not doing too great comparatively to all the other bigger teams. Looks like Bubba's still ahead of Suarez, which has kind of been the big battle, is which of these new startup teams with star influence is going to do better. But yeah, so good to see though that Buescher's looking like a real playoff contender. But yeah, so. But yeah, for a Darlington race, it definitely can get drawn out like that. Ultimately, though, I enjoyed this race quite a bit. And before I forget again, I told you guys at the beginning of the season I'd go through the fantasy through our fantasy league results every single race of this year. If you guys want to join, I might still have the link in the description of all these videos. If not, go back to some of my first ones. If not, go back to my earlier videos on the subject. Looks like they have not completed post-race inspection because there's a little note on the fantasy points. But Joe Schmo at 219 wins the week. And on Mother's Day, my mom actually finishes second with a score of 214. Steve Dyer 202. GL Racing 197. Actually in a tie with Ian Farm at 197 as well. BJ goes both ways, got 195. Darrell Clark gets 7th with 183. 182 for Bobby Bird. Gets him an 8th place finish in the Fantasy League. Timothy B30 gets a 170, which scores him a whopping 9th place. And Warrior rounds out your top 10 at 165. Me, personally, slid in at a measly 152, which ranked me 12th. A lot of which due to kind of Eric Jones and Bowman's tire issues late in this race, and Dylan just relatively underperforming for what I expected. But yeah, so that was our fantasy lineup rundown, and that has been my race review here of the Darlington Goodyear 400. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new so you guys never miss a video. Also, just a quick plug, I will be broadcasting for the SCRL Championship finale here this coming Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you guys are tuned in for that. But outside of that, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video, live stream, or whatever you guys decide to do with the rest of your day. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye!